EBV Alumni Workshop Series. I'm Nicholas Martinelli, the Program Manager for EBV here at the Connecticut Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Our presenter today is Andy Leung, Vice President and Private Wealth Advisor for Procyon. In addition to his financial expertise, Andy has firsthand experience as an independent business owner and operator. The experience gives him a deep understanding of the financial needs and challenges faced by those involved in franchising and small business ownership. Andy's professional journey also includes serving as a captain in the United States Marine Corps, stationed in Italy and Japan. He's a graduate of the United States Naval Academy, where he earned a BS in economics and played Division I lacrosse. He furthered his education by obtaining an MBA in finance from the University of Connecticut. So we want to thank you for joining us, and I'll hand it over to you, Andy.
Well, thank you, Nick, for the nice introduction, and thank you and Megan for inviting me. And thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your schedule to listen to listen a little bit about personal finances and financial management. So let me share my presentation. So I've there's the fancy intro page, but here's some scary pictures of me. This is when I was about 20 years old. The past at the Naval Academy. This is me now, and then I like to say that this is the future of the military. This is my son, who was commissioned as second lieutenant about 2 weeks ago. So that's my proud father moment. So like Nick said, I graduated from the academy. I feel like I'm well suited to present to this audience because I graduated from the academy in 1990. Served in the Marine Corps from 90 to 97, active, and then 1 year in the active reserves. I've experienced in franchising. Although it was brief, I was in franchising, and then my wife has a small public relations consulting business that I help to run. And then many of my clients are business owners, so well versed in the many stages of being a business owner. And then, like everybody, I've attended UConn at night and graduated in 2002. And then I'm a financial advisor with, as Nick said, with Procyon Partners based in Shelton, Connecticut. So, I'll talk broadly. We'll think of this as a very high level speak on financial planning, financial management. Think of it as like a 101 course, and I'm happy to go more in depth with people, either during this the presentation or on follow-on calls, whatever the case may be. But also, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to interrupt me, and happy to answer those. I threatened that to keep it interactive, maybe I'll ask some pop questions to the audience. So anyways, for financial planning, I think the biggest thing is to get a financial plan in place. And when I say a financial plan, I mean something in writing. I think everybody, regardless of the stage you're in, you have kind of the finances in your head. They're swirling around. So you want to get get these things down on paper and get a real plan in place. I think the basic components are, have your cash flow statements, right? Have a very easy cash flow statement. Have a balance sheet with your assets and your liabilities, and have that very simple. It can be complex underneath, but have a basically a one pager with all those things, so you understand where it's coming from and where it's going. And utilize or leverage technology as much as you can. Many of my clients use use Quicken, obviously. I think a good cash flow app is Mint. Where you do have to input some things, but you can automate most of the input and output. I had I have a client who he's a doctor at Harvard, and she's a lawyer at Northeast University. Both teaching professionals, and they had no idea what their cash flow was, right? So we put them on Mint, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know we were spending that much money." where's it all going? But after the first year, they knew where that money was. So, like I mentioned, they have things swirling around in their head, mostly with work and teaching and kids and house and sports and everything, but some in the finance, but they never put it on paper and put it in technology, and it was very helpful for them. So, like I said, use those things, develop a comprehensive long-term plan. Addresses goals you may have, your risk tolerance, time horizon, etc. I'll go a little bit more in depth in those things in slides a little bit later. And then create a written plan, which goes over your budgeting, how to manage any kind of debt you may have, hopefully good debt. But any kind of bad debt, you want to kill that as soon as possible. And this will be a common theme, maybe even the last statement in on every slide. But this plan allows you to be accountable for your what you have going on, right? So you can measure your progress versus it. Make updates to the plan. We know that life is fluid, so there are always changes. So you have the baseline plan, but you make changes and updates as those events occur. Just some things on we tend to do planning based off of goals and objectives, right? I mean, it's or what do you want to do? What year do you want to retire? What are the things that you want? Do you want do you want to really invest in your business right now? Do you want do you have capital expenses coming up? Do you have a big investment in marketing? What year is that going to be? Do you want to buy a house? Or do you have a house and do you want to upgrade it? What year will that be? Do you want a second home, whether it's a vacation home, a retirement home, a rental home, or a rental home until it becomes your vacation home? A boat, an RV, I want to buy that 5 years before retirement or in retirement. So then you want to quantify those and put those on your timeline. Okay, in 5 years, I want to upgrade my house, or I want to do this massive renovation on my house. In 10 years, I want to buy that vacation home, and I'm going to require 20%, down payment on it. How am I going to accumulate the those funds? So have that plan out in front of you, and you can start to save money for that plan or in that plan. And like I said, the last bullet point: hold yourself accountable. Right? We're all former military people, except maybe one, but but we can we know how to create a plan, and we can definitely execute a plan, and we can definitely follow orders, right? So I think military people should be good at that. All right, so as far as your investment strategy is part of the financial plan. For an advisor, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, he's my broker. He's all he does is he picks my stocks for me, whatnot." But we just look at it as a component of your financial plan, right? That's just kind of one of the things within it. But obviously a very, very important part. So the first thing you want to do is kind of prioritize your savings. Am I going to what's the balance between saving for personal versus saving for, or investing in my business? Do I make a decision on my retirement plan versus, okay, am I going to save for my kids' college? I mean, I've had clients who they say, what I want to do is I want my child to go to college and graduate debt free, right? And I'm like, well, the first thing you really need to focus on is your retirement, right? Once we get your retirement plan in place and kind of get all those things taken care of, then we can look at your child's education expenses. They have there are ways to get funding for kids' education, and they have a lifetime to pay off their school debt, where you only have one shot at retirement. So take care of that first. you want to clarify your investment objectives. Some people can be very, very aggressive. Some people are, they made this money, they worked really hard for it, and they don't want to lose a cent. Well, with that, kind of lower risk comes lower, probably lower return. So, being able to understand what your real risk tolerance is important. And then, within the planning of the kind of the different risk levels you take, you need to take a look at, there can be different risk levels for different investments, right? If it's a very short-term thing, okay, I need a down payment for my house. I've got this much money. You definitely don't want to, you don't want to have less money than when you put into it. So maybe you're willing to give up some of the return for having a sure thing. So if you put it in, money market fund, collect now, 4.5%, you're happy. Whereas, something like a medium-term investment or a long-term investment, say retirement, then you can take a little bit more volatility. You can put it in more aggressive kind of stocks and other kinds of investments. And then you have, any kind of legacy or philanthropic money that you have, for the legacy money, if you want to leave money to children or dependents or whatnot, the time horizon for that is different too. So, there can be different buckets of money for different risk levels. From that, if you want to pick your diversification or your asset allocation, it's a mixture of the stocks and bonds and real estate, things like that. But, you dig deeper into it and, you can say like large cap companies versus small cap companies, growth stocks versus value stocks, US versus international. So you can go to kind of all different levels of details on it. But, I think a lot of people that I work with, they're like, okay, just give me the high level on the asset allocation. You guys take care of the rest. And then again, accountability, monitor continuously. I would say generally a lot of people look at it too much, right? People are always on their phone. Okay, what does my Schwab account say? What does my Fidelity account say? How much is it worth? I would say that's a little unhealthy, and make your investment so you can put it in and get some sleep and be pretty confident in the net outcome. I tell people to play the long game on your investments, not the intraday volatility. You'll definitely end up like me, losing your hair. So the next one is let's see, we'll go on to retirement planning. So I get a lot of clients who are new clients. They say to me, okay, Andy, what's my number? What do I need to get to retire? And I say, well, what you have to tell me is how much money you need to spend per year in retirement, right? So that's you can arrive at that number through different analysis. And a general rule of thumb is we use is 80% of your after-tax current spend. But there are all kinds of variables that can impact that. This is kind of a general one. But then the second thing I say is, if you can tell me the exact age that you're going to die, I will tell you how much money you need to save. Fortunately or unfortunately, we don't have that kind of crystal ball, right? Some of us don't want to know how soon or how late we're going to pass away, but we generally we plan for our clients to live to the age of 92 as a male, 94 as a female, and unless there's underlying conditions, with family history, etc. Because you don't want to get to, oh, nobody in my family lives past the age of 85. Well, then what are you going to do from 85 to 92, right? You're out of money at age 85. What now? But so for the retirement planning, you take a look at what your current retirement savings and investment accounts are. So your 401ks, your IRAs, pension plans, whole life, any kind of any kind of real estate that you have. And I think specific to this group, if they have small businesses, especially one-person businesses, what is the best retirement plan for you in your businesses, whether it's a traditional IRA, 401k, simple, SEP, solo 401k. For one person company, or at least one person plus a spouse, they can both have solo 401ks. That's what I typically steer people towards, because that you can actually contribute 100% of your first $23,000, unless you're unfortunate like me and over 50. Then you can contribute $30,000, 100% of that first 100% of your earnings, and then you can contribute it up to a total of I think it's now $69,000, just depending on the net income of the LLC or whatever the case may be. So it's a very powerful tool, and you can put a lot of money away into it, more so than you may have the ability to in a traditional corporate 401k. So I actually wrote an article in Kiplinger's a couple of years ago, which details all the plans. So if anybody would like to see that, I'm happy to provide it. Numbers have to be adjusted a little bit because I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. But when we do the retirement plan, we look at the different retirement income sources, right? Social Security. All we know is what we know about Social Security right now, right? We don't know what it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years, but we just use the current Social Security rate. If anybody has a military pension, we take that into consideration, survivor benefit or non-survivor benefit. Any kind of VA disability benefit that you have, real estate or any other kind of passive income you have, annuities, and lastly, investment withdrawals, right? So those will be when the spigot is turned off and you're not earning a paycheck. Those are your only sources of supporting yourself. So we utilize that in retirement planning. So I think for when someone is if they're doing it on their own, obviously those are the things that need to be taken into consideration. Yeah, I think that it's interesting, as my father always said, it's not how much you earn, it's how much you save, right? I have clients, right, who come to me and they're earning $1 million a year, and they have like $100,000 saved. And so it's not how much you earn, it's how much you retain and decide to invest. I have retired military that I'll tell you that about 75% of my clients are former military or veterans. So I come across it a lot. But people who are retired 06s, 07s, and they have a couple $100,000 saved up. Right? They just their entire career they've relied on the fact that they're going to have a pension. But if they would have put away $50 a month or $25 a month from the time they they entered the military, they would be pretty well off. So, but I've certainly seen the opposite end of the spectrum. I think conversely, I think kind of a big success story that I've seen is I have a couple of retirees who are about 55 years old, retired. They've never earned more than $120,000 in combined income between the two of them. And they have about $3.5 million saved up, right? So, it's twofold, right? So if you've only earned $120,000 max earning, and you've saved $3.5 million, well, you've really lived off of just a fraction of that, right? So then once in retirement, that $3.5 million is going to last you a really long time. Right? You're not going to run out of money. Whereas if you earn $1 million a year and you have $3 million saved up, well, that money will last you about 5 years, right? If you're used to spending that kind of money. So it is not an exact science for retirement planning, right? everybody's situation is different, right? Some people are like, oh, I earn $1 million now and I spend it all, but when I retire, I could probably live on $120,000. I don't think so. So each individual's retirement plan is different. Let's see here, for tax planning, I think that is a very important part of financial management, right? And we look at people's current tax situation. So you want to take advantage of all tax advantage accounts you can currently, and then we plan for we do tax planning for the future. So in retirement, what is the best tax strategies for you? I think if you think about investment performance, and if you invest and if you're a professional investor and you outperform the indices or the markets by 1 or 2%, you're actually really a superstar. We look at it as, for tax planning, if on a big chunk of someone's money, we can save them their tax bracket. That's huge. That's a much bigger outperformance. So if your effective tax bracket is 24%, or if estate planning, right? If you're fortunate enough to have estate planning concerns, estate planning, the taxes are 40%, right? So if we can save a individual or a family on the taxes, it's a much more significant than outperforming the market every year. So and ensure your investments are maximizing tax efficiency. Reduce the income taxes paid, reduce any kind of capital gains that you may have out there. These will have a pretty significant impact on the size of your retirement account after 20 years, after 30 years. We make sure, or we try to get people to maximize any tax advantage accounts that are out there. So whether it's the IRAs, the 401ks, the 529 plans, and probably an underutilized one is the HSA. And so not everybody is eligible for an HSA, but more people are eligible for it than you would think. But that's triple tax savings. There's no vehicle that is as tax advantage as a health savings account. No taxes or pre-tax money going in, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals on if used for qualified medical expenses. So I always if people have them and they can, I actually recommend that they max them out and then don't touch them. Just let them grow. But that's kind of it's a little thing that I get hung up on sometimes, because it's just such a great vehicle. Review tax implications of your investment decisions, asset allocation, portfolio rebalancing. What are the tax what are the tax implications of that? For us, we do a number of things every year within portfolios to minimize capital gains paid at the end of each year. So tax loss harvesting. We may, you look at mutual funds announce their capital gains that they're paying towards the end of the year. Well, you could sell that. You could sell that, sell it before they pay their capital gains and buy it back after they pay it. And then you don't pay the capital gains taxes on that payment, and you're buying it back cheaper. So, I think there are a number of things that people can actively do in their portfolio to minimize capital gains taxes owed each year. I think I had a client who he had commercial real estate for a long period of time, and he no longer really wanted to be a landlord. So we recommended a 1031 real estate exchange. So I think anybody who is involved in real estate, is very aware of what that is. But it's exchanging a one rental property for another without having to pay any kind of appreciation and capital gains. But the solution for this guy who didn't want to invest in or be a landlord anymore was to invest in a 1031 real estate fund. So all you do is take the money, roll it over, and you don't have to pay taxes on your capital gains. So, making smart decisions with and fully understanding tax implications, I think will have a significant impact on your retirement monies. AMT, I'll touch on a little bit, but basically that's the government's way of making sure high earners pay their fair share of taxes. If you do have to pay it, it is painful, but you want to employ tax and investment strategies to minimize the impact. I won't go into the details of it. I'm certainly not I'm not an accountant, I'm not an expert on it, but you want to be smart about AMT minimization. And I think for veterans, there are a lot of things out there that we're eligible for. So make sure they're being utilized. Nick and I were speaking about it before, but he utilizes the Chapter 35 for 100% disabled veterans that can save Nick, what's it, $15,000 per kid per year, roughly. I've had retirees that have sent multiple kids through college and they weren't aware of it. So, take advantage of, we've all earned it. We suffered through years of low pay or being underpaid, so you might as well take advantage of the benefits that are out there. I have another client who lives out in Chicago, and he just went 70% VA rating. In Chicago, once you're over 70%, he is saving $20,000 a year in real estate taxes. So not only does he receive more VA benefit, he's also, it's a two-pronged benefit. He's receiving more money in his disability pay, and then he's also saving $20,000 by not having to pay the real estate taxes. I think a lot of decisions are made on pensions. Decisions on where to live are made based on state taxes and who exempts pensions, military pensions from state income. Nick, Connecticut is one of them, correct?
Yeah, and actually, I was going to say the state of Connecticut just passed a bill it was signed by the governor on the 21st of May that all veterans that are 100% permanent and totally disabled are now going to be 100% property tax exempt on their home and one vehicle. And if they don't own a home, then on two vehicles. So I don't know how fast that will take into effect and when people start seeing the difference, but it will substantially lower a lot of folks' mortgage payments should they have them, and they're 100% permanent and totally disabled.
Yeah. So there are a lot of benefits out there to veterans, and I think I hope that a lot of them the programs are expanding, right, for us. But other things, I'm sure it's taught in the classes, but take advantage of any opportunities for SDVO, right, or veteran-owned companies, right? There are some tax benefits out there. I think for bidding on government contracts, right? There are benefits to that. So just be aware of them. I think more people are taking advantage of VA mortgages, right, as they've kind of made the rules better. I don't recommend it, but one of my clients took it, 0% down his third loan that he's taken, $2 million. And I said, you sure you want to take out a $2 million mortgage? So it used to be capped, right? It was capped at X amount, but now there's no cap on the limit. You can use it as many times as you want. And I think that's I know it's not always easy to get the VA mortgage, but I hope more people are using it now. Next one, I don't know how many people this applies to, but or in this audience, but education planning is becoming more and more onerous, right, as the costs go up. how much do I save for my child's education? UConn is probably one of the more expensive state universities, right? I think the last I saw, it's approximately $35,000 a year all in. If you have a kid now, right? If you have a kid now at 18 years, they need to go to college. What we usually do is we use education inflation is we usually calculate about 2 times the rate of regular inflation. It is just going up faster than regular inflation. So in 18 years, that $35,000 one-year tuition is going to be $85,000 per year, right? So, the total is about $340,000 for 4 years of college, and that's for a state school, right? You go to an Ivy League school, and that's about $100,000 now, right? So that's a really big number. So what do you save for? Those are the numbers you're looking at, and then the decision is how much do you want to fund a bit? Do you want to let them? Some people are like they're on their own, wherever or so find a way to pay for it if you want to go. But just to put it in, to start, if you save $100 a month for 18 years, it would be $40,000. So start with something. If you would like to save your kids' college, even if it's $25 a month, start somewhere. I fully recommend the 529 plan. I think for my kids, I'm right in the thick of things. I have 3 kids who are college age, 2 in college, and one who's in high school. So the third one coming. But yeah, my 529 plans that I started for my kids have grown. They've been about 100% return. So it's worked out very well. People always are worried about options for a 529 if it's not used. If the child decides not to go to college, or if they receive a scholarship. Like I said, for example, my son received an ROTC scholarship. So there are more options now than there were a year ago. You've always been able to change the beneficiary, so you can change it to your child, or you can even pass it to grandchildren. This is just brand new this year, but you can contribute the IRA maximum. You could transfer basically to the beneficiary's Roth IRA, right? $6,500 per year, up to a lifetime maximum of $35,000. And then if a child receives a scholarship, you can withdraw the scholarship amount without penalty. You still have to pay taxes, but without penalty. So there are many options with it. You can always use it for if the kid decides to go to get a master's degree or something like that, you can always just keep letting it grow. But there are so many programs out there for education aside from you paying fully out of pocket. And then the veteran ones that I think Nick checked the box in all 3 of these. The post 9/11 GI Bill, it's great. Yellow Ribbon, which provides a lot of your out-of-state private college funding, and then Chapter 35, the benefit with that. So a big number, so I dedicate a full slide to it. The last 2 things I'll touch on are risk management and legal docs. Risk management, fancy name for insurance. Make sure you're insured. So protect yourself, protect your loved ones, and protect your business and the sustainability of it if something should happen to you. And there are many different kinds of insurance. I mean, a general rule of thumb for life insurance, just kind of ballparking, would be roughly 10 times your income, right? Depending on age. There are a lot of other different variables to it, but if one person is the primary breadwinner, even if the 2 people are equal income, what is the other person going to do without that income, right? How is the retirement plan or the financial plan going to be executed without that income for 10 years or until the retirement plan is in effect? So are you properly covered for life insurance? I'm not a whole life has its place, but I think term is always the cheapest, the least expensive way to cover your liabilities. Obviously health insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance, that's something you don't really address or look at until you're in your 50s. But I think for people of my generation, it's becoming very obvious to everybody the importance of it as our parents get older. And I have many clients who they're now taking care of their parents, and you see some really crazy expenses for hospice care, for memory care, etc. One of my clients paying about $20,000 per month for his dad to be in hospice care. Another client, she was paying $8,000 a year for, and this is pretty inexpensive. It's in New Hampshire, $8,000 per month in retirement home costs, and then when it moved to memory care, it went up to $12,000 per month. So long-term care insurance it can be very worthwhile. It's not cheap, but it'd be well worth it. Property and casualty insurance, that's just basic insurance, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't have sufficient liability insurance, and then that just opens you up for problems with your business or problems for your personal assets. Legal documents, just make sure you have just at least your 3 basic documents: your wills, your trusts, your power of attorney, basically your healthcare directives. So it's pretty inexpensive to have them done, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't have them. I think for the wills, trusts, titling of things, one of the key things to avoid probate. I had a client who forgot to change the beneficiary of one account, or never put it on, never put her husband on, and she passed away, and it cost $10,000 to get the money out of probate because she didn't put one person's beneficiary's name on the account. So those are easy things to do. And then trusts are a little more complicated, but if you have these needs, it's very important to have them to ensure that the money that you have worked so hard to earn is actually accomplishing what you wanted to when you've passed, right? I say there are no mulligans. There are no mulligans when you're 6 feet under, right? You've got to make it clear when you're still around, and make sure that that it's legally enforceable. So whether it's legacy trusts, some things we run into is if there are children with special needs, are you properly providing for them? So there are a number of different things with trusts just to make sure you're fully covered. So that is those are all the topics. Like I said, very high level at this point, the 101 class, and I'm happy to go further in depth with things now or whenever. But do we have any questions? Mr. Howard, I know you have a question.
Usually I would, but you have touched everything, and I appreciate your time.
Well, there was a question about turning liabilities into assets. Was that you?
That was, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very broad, a broad term, and I think it's really like having assets that have some debt on it, or and trying to minimize the liability, right? So I think, for example, if you own a home, right, and you use 75% of the home, all right, do I think about renting out the 25% or 10% just to lessen the mortgage payment or lessen the pain on the mortgage payment? Or if I own a piece of property, you know, can I rent out a piece so somebody can store something? If I own a company, the same holds true for the you know, your office space. If you own the office building and you're not utilizing all of it, rent it out. If you have equipment, you have big capital equipment at your company and you're not using it 24/7, doesn't make sense for you to maximize the potential of that liability, right? I think I have a client who was he was a business owner, and he owned a mosquito extermination, mosquito control company, right? So it's a very large company, and they had a whole fleet of vehicles, right, to deliver the you know, to do their extermination with. And so when the mosquitoes come out, right, mosquitoes come out during the summer, right? Mosquitoes, that's when they're fully used. The mosquitoes come out at Christmas during the holiday? No. All right. So his thought was, what would this be a good fit for, right? When these trucks that I'm paying for are not being used, who could use them? So he approached Amazon and said, okay, when is their peak time? When do they need the most trucks? They need the most trucks during the holiday. Right. So it's a perfect fit. We'll sublease them to Amazon during the holiday season when we're not using them. They can pay, you know, that'll pay for, you know, the vehicle payments, the lease payments plus, and we're, you know, we're all happy. So that's the liability that's used to generate some, you know, turn it into an asset. So, you know, it's not a I don't think there's any you know, magic potion how you can turn, you know, turn a debt or a liability into an asset, but just maximizing the potential of the things that you have on hand. Yeah, I've seen things like, okay, if I have equity in my house, should I take the equity out and invest it in the market and try to get 50% return? Well, what happens if it goes to zero and then you now have no equity in your home? So it's that would be turning a liability into a bigger liability. So, but any other questions? Anything else that anybody wants to talk about?
You answered my question. Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, I think for this, like I'm always happy to help veterans. I'm always happy to help people with finances. So, you know, if you have any questions now, or if you have any follow-up questions that you you know, you could think of, you know, feel free to reach out, and you know, shoot me an email, or we can set up an appointment. And always happy to talk to you and help you out. Let's see here. So there's my my email and my phone number. So if anybody wants to set something up, just give me a reach out to me.
Well, I want to thank you very much for the information. You know, a lot of people don't think about long term, so it's really it's something that we all need to focus on. And I can promise you, like, and you can attest to it, while you're on active duty, it's not really stressed enough. So this is definitely great information for a lot of folks to be thinking about, whether they're young or middle aged. Like, it's still never too late to you know, start planning for stuff like this, because you never know what can happen. So I really appreciate everything. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope this helps a lot of folks.
I appreciate the opportunity to give the little presentation, and hopefully it helps.
Thank you so much. I know it will.
All right. Thanks. Have a great night, everybody.
You too. Thank you.